Okay, we spent quite a bit of time looking at different scenarios that you'll encounter when working in the segment builder. And more specifically, we were looking at sequential segments in greater detail. So what I'd like to do in this example is walk through how you would solve a particular problem. Now, of course, your data is different than my data, but what I'd like you to do is think about how you might be able to approach this particular problem I'm going to pose. But before I pose the problem, we're definitely going to have to get into the segment builder, so let's do that. Here I am in Analysis Workspace. I'm going to come over and click New, and from here, I'm going to choose Create Segment. So this brings us to the segment builder. We'll worry about title and description later. Sure, you should probably enter this in a real-world situation first, but my concern right now is coming down here and looking at this definition and coming up with the definition that will give us the data we're looking for. And the data that we're looking for is going to require a segment that allows all people that have purchased, registered, and signed up for a newsletter as long as they're not from the geosegment region of California. In this case, we want to see if the purchase event occurred no more than 30 days after the registration and newsletter sign-up. And either the registration or the newsletter sign-up can be the first event that occurred. So with that being said, hopefully you jotted that down. If not, maybe rewind the video, listen to it again and jot it down, and we can come up with how we would tackle this problem. Well, the first thing that we can do is place region and order in either a hit or logic group container. So let's start there. We know that we have to show visitor, and we know that we want to work with a container. So I'm going to come over here to Options and choose Add Container. And a container's been added to this definitions window. After that, what I want to look for is the regions component. Now, to find the regions component, I'm going to come up here into the search text field. I'm going to start typing in regions until it filters out and it becomes visible. Then I'll click and drag it down here into this container. Now, regions in this case will equal California. So I'll come over here and start typing in California to filter the list. Once I find California, I can select it. Then we have to test to see if there was a newsletter sign up and a registration. In order for us to do that, we have to create another container. Remember, this container, if you hover over, should be a hit container. But come up to the top, and from Options, you can choose Add Container again. This will create another container. And remember, what we're looking for are newsletter signups and registrations. But of course, this operator shouldn't be and, instead it should be then. Once you switch it to then, if you wanted to change hit to a logic group container, you could do that. So I'll go ahead and select logic group. Then we need to come over and search for a component. The component we're looking for is a newsletter sign up. So as I type, it'll filter, then I can drag this into the container. Not only do we want to see if there's a newsletter sign up, and in this case, it's not going to equal, we just want to see if it exists. We're also looking for a registration. So again, in the components search field, I'm going to type in registrations. I'm going to select it and drag it underneath newsletter signups. And this should be an and. And again, instead of equals, we're looking to see if it exists. The final thing that we want to test against is to see if the purchase event occurred no more than 30 days after the registration or newsletter sign up. So again, all the way up towards the top, we have to create another container. So choose Add Container. It's located down here towards the bottom. It will be a then operator. We'll worry about the details of that in just a bit, but we're looking for orders. So up here, I'll start typing in orders to find that component. When I do, I'll drag it into the container. And again, we're looking to see if the order exists. But remember, in this case, it's really the 30-day mark that we're interested in. So after clicking on this little clock icon, we can choose within, and then we can change weeks to days, and then we can change the number from 1, and we can either click this plus sign, or we can just type in 30. And that will complete our sequential segment, with the exception of coming over here to the container and changing this last then to a hit container. So the final step, of course, is to come up to the top and name this segment. I'm just going to type in sequential segment Of course, in a real-world situation, you would come up with a more descriptive title, and I'll just type in example for the description. When you're all done, you can come over and click Save.